From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
What's up, world? It is time for the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. All right, it is week 12 in the NFL, Jeff. What a time to be alive. We've had two of the greatest weeks in NFL history. Well, not two of the greatest weeks in NFL history, but it's been must-see TV. Let's just keep it real. We had 6 walk-offs last week. Then this week, I think we had 6 or 7 games that were just single scores. Could have went either way. Either teams could have won. Close games, and that's what really makes the difference between, going to the playoffs and not going to the playoffs. Drafting a high pick and drafting a low pick. It's really such a crazy race, such a crazy marathon. You don't know who's going to be who, and all that good stuff. So how are you, brother? How's everything going? I know we had a rough week. Both of us had a rough week, but how was everything this weekend, though, for sure?
No, you talk about the last 2 weeks' games and the fact of the matter. I'll just bring up 2 plays: Quentin Johnson and MVS last night. I mean, they both catch the ball. The Chargers win and the Chiefs win. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. And to be on the wrong side of those games. My glory of the week was last night on the closing bell. I gave out Justin Watson for first TD to be scored, plus 2,500. Some guys got plus 3,000. If it was only that easy, but the NFL is listen, any given Sunday, not for long, whatever you want to say. And the fact of the matter is that you got 25% of the teams down to their third string quarterback, and it's truly coin flips. I mean, after last night's game, the Eagles cemented themselves as the number 1 team in the NFC. You got the Lions at 2 losses is the number 2. Obviously, we know the 49ers are round and in form. It looks like a 3-horse race over there, and then at Dallas. So there's a 4-horse race in the NFC. The AFC, I mean, we'll talk about them. I mean, there's a handful. Listen, you're still going to have to beat the Chiefs. We understand that. Someone's going to have to knock them off. But there are teams that are primed to, and there's other teams that don't have a quarterback. So it's going to be interesting, Pops.
Well, man, NFL, we are at that point. We are at the go hard or go home point of the NFL. And we know that bad teams are going to figure out ways to be better teams week by week. And we know that great teams are going to be regressing because little injuries that made them great are going to really kind of muck up things a little bit. But let's go ahead and look at what happened last week. I was god awful last week, 4-10. Now I'm 74-90 on the year. Jeff, a rare off week, 3-11, 77-87. And 2 on the season. He'll make up for all that next week, though. So it's all good. And before we get into this, Jeff, I saw something that's very, very significant to this week. Most of the spreads are very close, 3.5 or lower. And then we have a lot of 1s as well, too. That's because we have a lot of 50-50 matchups this week. And so people have to be prepared for a week of possible big upsets as well, too. Doggy dog week. And that's kind of where my flow is at this week. So let's jump into it. And, we usually have ourselves a cool little Thursday and everything like that. We just got 1 game, but we got Thursday night football 3 times. And really it's Thursday football. And then we got some Thursday, and then we got a Thursday night game. So let's go ahead, jump into our first game, which is always a classic on Thanksgiving. This is going to be the Packers, who are 4-6. You have the Lions, who are 8-2. We have a 7.5-point spread and over under of 47. So when I look at this game, Jeff, I always feel that when you have a team like the Lions here, you can go ahead and you can really take into fruition that this team is very game. That's what they do. That's what they're about. They're about getting the job done. And I think that a lot of times that a lot of people have to understand Detroit is playing way better than a lot of us assume they would. I would say this: Detroit, I would have gave them 7-3, 6-4 right now. To be honest with you, when we start the season, these guys are 8-2, and I keep saying they got to win that they weren't supposed to get. But you know what? In the NFL, there's no such thing as that. So this win against Kansas City should have shown everybody early on this season that this is not your regular Detroit Lions football, because they've been talking for years about being a great team, but now it's really there that they're a great team. And I truly do think that when it all comes down to it, when it's all said and done, that this game will wind up being a very definitive game for the Lions moving forward, because they've already beaten the Packers this year. And the Packers really were out of their wits, but it was 3 days after after a Sunday game. And I think they had wound up winning that game that Sunday. Then they came back around for this game, and that game was a tough game. I think that was the New Orleans game right there as well, too, wasn't it? The New Orleans game where they had to come back in the fourth quarter and all that good stuff. Then they come back Thursday as a favorite, and everybody had this idea that they would be able to kill and everything like that, and it didn't work out like that. So pretty much the way I see this game setting up, I really did like Jordan Love's performance on Sunday. Guy threw for 322 yards, and people can say what they want, but I keep saying if you give them a little bit more weapons and things of that nature with the way that they call plays in Green Bay, you could see a B version of Patrick all day in him. And seriously, Jordan Love, 6'6". He's very versatile. He moves quickly. He throws a great ball as well, too. Throws a great deep ball. And he's an accurate passer when he has time to be an accurate passer. And you know what? He's pretty good at throwing on the run as well, too. So I feel like since you have a Green Bay team that's possibly a bit better than the Chicago team that they just played, I'm going to go ahead and take the Packers to make this game a game. And I really kind of feel that the Packers can go in here and actually beat the Lions, because the Lions are going to have a lot of pressure on them on Thursday. And I don't know how they are with a lot of pressure. Now we know you're good. Now we know you're real good. So that means bettors will get overconfident. Now you truly trust the Lions. I think that we've all been making money off the Lions because we halfway trust them this year. But you're going to trust them 100% on Thursday. I know this. And that's why I feel like the Packers will probably get an upset. Somebody's getting upset on Thursday. These lines are too heavy for this to be a straight favorite sweep them. Jeff, what are your thoughts, and where are you going with this one?
My true number was 7 with a 45, up to 7.5 with a 47.5 in the at Circa Las Vegas. It's funny when you put the last week's records up there. There was a time last year where we're sitting, 18, 20, 24, 26 games over 500, and it just takes 1 or 2 bad weeks. I can't remember the last week that was that bad, but just sometimes you look at the games and this is what the numbers say, and they just don't show up that way. I'll be honest, this is one of them. I think the Lions are going to find a way to win. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. Lions are just playing really damn good football, and they should have lost last Sunday. Maybe they were peeking ahead to this Thursday. Justin Fields looked great, and they had a 12-point lead late, and they just blew it. Hats off again to the Lions there. I bought the hook. I took the Lions down to 7. I don't like the move. I don't like the play. I think the Lions win. I could see this, Pops, as your 24-20 game, 24-21, 24-17 somewhere. I'm just hoping Lions find a way to at least win by 7 or more. Don't have great feelings on this at all. Just took the team that I think is going to win the game, Pops.
All right. So I like the way that that sounds. I think that you're on to something heavy there. And the Lions are America's team. I said this the first week of the season. This is what you want in America's team. A team that's downtrodden, a downtrodden city, a team that really is the heartbeat of the city when they're good. You know what I mean? They get people up and people excited because hey, it's miserable times in the Midwest. Let's keep it real. There's a lot of things that left the great Midwest, and the only things that they have now are their sports teams. So when these teams play well, it's always a big deal. And you know what? The Lions are doing God's work right now for those people in Michigan. And in my boldest opinion, to be honest with you, this is a beautiful time for those fans because they've been waiting for 30 years, literally 30 years for this thing to work again. And it's working again because I remember as a kid in the 90s, the Lions were a significant team on TV. They had a star that kept them on TV as well, too. And they always were in the mix of being in the playoffs. This reminds me of that time for the Lions. But there's no Wayne Fonts, there's no Barry Sanders, and Scott. And you always call out Scott Mitchell, but I always call out Rodney Peete because Rodney Peete when they played Washington in the conference championship. Now let's move forward. Let's talk about the next game, which is going to be the Commanders and the Cowboys. The Commanders coming in here 4-7. The Cowboys are 7-3. The Cowboys right now, I'm looking at my notes, and the Cowboys are absolutely picking up where they left off last season. 7-3 against the spread this year. Also, when it comes down to at home, they're 4-0. But peep this, Jeff. They're averaging 40 points a game. There's only been, I think, one game where they didn't score 40 points and they scored 34 or 38 or something like that. But this team is absolutely silly. They've scored 160 points right on the nose at home, Jeff. And it's been an absolute bloodbath for teams because nobody's even got the 20 points against the Cowboys in Jerry's world. This might be their best effort in Jerry's world. They're 2-1 straight up and against the spread in the division. Their one loss comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, when it comes down to playing the NFC, they are 5-2 at this point as well, too. Actually, yeah, they're 5-2. No, they will be 5-3. I'm sorry, because they've been beaten up on the AFC this year. But yeah, I'm looking at it right now. This is a matchup that really screams Cowboys blowout to me. And, the Commanders coming in, the Commanders, nothing but props to the Commanders. This team is 5-1 against the spread on the road, okay? But that's because they're always the damn underdog on the road. And, you have 5-1 against the spread as well, too. And then you're 3-3 on the road straight up. So this does kind of show something to me that could be a possible, upset because it's Cowboys and Commanders. And we've been at this movie before where the Cowboys been a double-digit favorite on Thanksgiving and they get absolutely rolled. But I don't see that happening with the Commanders coming off 3 days of rest, and they just got 31 put on them by a team that scored 5 touchdowns this year, Jeff. I don't know about the Commanders having one of these great games against a great defense like the Cowboys. I don't see 400 yards from Sam Howell coming on Thursday, even though Sam Howell has probably been the best yardage quarterback over the last month. It's a day for you to kind of be left in the mud a little bit. And last time we had him play on 3 days rest, he didn't get over 200 yards against the Bears. And the Bears defense is nowhere near as good as the Cowboys defense. Give me the Cowboys with the 11. They win this game by 2 touchdowns or better, Jeff. Where are your thoughts after this? And where are you going for this game as well, too?
Washington, I was in a local Survivor contest down to the Final Four. One of my golden rules is to obviously try to take a home team, try to take a favorite, but also stay away from divisional games. Anything can happen in divisional games. And I don't know why I didn't just take the Jaguars and move on. I got cute. I took the Commanders, and no holy world should Washington Commanders be favored by double digits over the Giants. Never mind Barnstable High School. And so I got knocked out. And I look at this number here. I got an 11 with a 48. It's up to 49 and 11. 6 turnovers. I knew on the first drive Washington was dead. when they turned it over on their first drive. 6 altogether, just an abysmal game. Short week. I love where your eyes are, Pups. I really do. This is a set the tone early and often. Probably a good Tony Pollard game. CeeDee Lamb's been off the rails of late. Dallas, again, is the forgotten team. Everyone talking about the Chiefs. I'm sorry, the Eagles, the Lions, and the 49ers. No one talking about Dallas. Well, after this game, they might be talking about Dallas, their dominance at home. This is just, again, give me them plus 11. If they're down 14, hopefully, a late, let me see here. We'll go Sam Howell to Logan Thomas touchdown for a backdoor cover. But I could see this getting ugly, but give me the plus 11 and pray, Pups.
All right. Well, you know what, Jeff, you on to something, because that's going to be a lot of people who hate the Cowboys bet anyway. So, that it's going to work out for somebody because it's a long double-digit spread. But last week, they just pretty much were very adamant to tell us that, it was going to be one of those weeks. And you know what? I think only one of those double-digit spreads actually covered, to be honest with you. And I think only one of them on a big number won outright, and that was the Giants, and that's the divisional game. So the odds makers knew exactly what they were doing last week, just straight up. So a lot of people who never win on favorites, they all won on favorites last week. Let's keep it real. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this 49ers Seahawks game. This is the best game of the day, Jeff, because it's not a one-sided situation. All games are divisional games, but this divisional game is a lot different because you have teams vying for first place right now, and I think this plus 6.5 is way too many points for San Francisco going to Seattle, the house of horrors for them. Come on, man. How many times have they won in Seattle over the last 15 years? I think probably 3 times. And you're going to give them a plus 6.5. Seattle isn't that bad yet. You know what I mean? And I know I dog Geno out a lot, you know what I mean? Because I feel like Geno could be better. You know what I mean? I know Geno. Geno could be a much better quarterback because he has a lot of great weapons, but he doesn't have the greatest offensive line either. So, that kind of plays a part into it. But I felt like Sunday they really did lose a game they should have won. But at the end of the day, you can't say, okay, we should have won because the kicker missed the kick. If he makes the kick, we would have won the game. There were so many other elements that lost them the game. They had a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and they blew it. It's that simple. But they had to have Drew Lock once again be put into the game and looking like a deer in the headlights when it was time for him to really shine and possibly take the job. And now we know why Geno is the starter. Like, we know why Drew Lock has not overtaken him as the starter of this team. And they traded for Drew Lock to be the starter of this team. That's what makes that so funny to me. And so pretty much with that, I don't know Geno's health because he did hurt his arm, and they possibly will probably go ahead and stretch this thing out until kickoff. But I expect Drew Lock to possibly be starting on Thursday. But if Geno starts, great. But what I think is going to happen here is San Francisco is going to actually have to really work for this win in this game. And I think San Francisco actually catches a bit of an upset. I feel like they were really played up to those 2 games that they just played up to against a Bucs team that really doesn't know where they're going, and the Jaguars team that was fresh off of a bye as well too, that just didn't that the car was on 4 flats that day when they started that game, and they just couldn't get it together. So I feel like the Seahawks will do what they always do to the 49ers and make things really hard on the 49ers as they do. And I'm going to go ahead and take them with the plus 6.5. They're not going to put this game on NBC and not have it be exciting, Jeff. Come on now.
The Seahawks misery played a good first half. Geno gets hurt. In comes again the Rams in the second half. It was kind of comical. Opening day this year, Seattle had the 13-10 lead at halftime at home against the Rams and never showed up in the second half. Rams steamrolled them in the second half there. And then this was a great revenge spot. Seattle played a good first half, left some points on the out on the field. And again, got to line up for a 55-yarder to win the game there and come up short. Is Geno playing or not? Listen, I'll call in Jim Zorn if I have to. from way back, bringing Steve Largent as well. My true number on this game was 6.5 for the 43, down to 6 at the circa with the 43. I bought the hook. I took it to 7. The key to success for Seattle, very simply, is you got to get over that 13-14 number. You got to look for that 17-20. And on the defensive side, Brock Purdy probably coming off his best game of the year, 3 touchdowns, 300-plus yards. This team now 2-0 since the bye, really rounding in the form. Short week. Got to go to the 12th man. I think Seattle will keep it close. Even with a loss, I think it will be with less than 7. Give me the Hawks plus 7. I was going to say I wouldn't be shocked if Seattle won this game, but I just think the Niners will find a way to eke it out, but Seattle covers.
All right. That sounds good to me. So let's go ahead and move forward to our next game, which is going to be this one, and which is going to be the Black Friday game, the first of its kind. And I think that we're getting a little bit out of control with the situation, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to keep complaining about this stuff. I don't control TV. I'm not in the marketing room. I'm not doing any of that. But I would say that maybe you could let college football have their usual Black Friday big day of rivalry games that we all have came to enjoy, because it is, you know what, it is rivalry week in the NCAA. And, pretty much can the NFL not step on toes for one weekend of their life in fall? Like, just literally, seriously, like, it's almost like the kid that is the baby, and you just always have have all the attention. It doesn't matter if it's your brother's birthday. We're just you need all the attention, pretty much. You're the one you're the cash cow. So, but if you keep doing this too much, you're gonna really wear your product out. And I think the NFL really does have to chill. The Black Friday game I don't think it's a good idea, but it's a good match. It's a great rivalry game as well, too. So it's going to be a lot of people complaining about, man, I got to go out and go get some gifts for the family. So, hey, it is what it is. This is going to be a replay game for all of us. So pretty much, but I'm going to be watching, because I got to be watching, Jeff. You got to be watching too, so we can be on point. So we just don't be up in here talking nonsense, because there's other people that do that, and we ain't those people. So with this one, it's really easy, man. I know I'm going to probably be tripping with this one, but I just really feel like Miami, after what happened with the Raiders, they're going to take this game a bit more seriously, because they thought they could just do whatever plays and beat the Raiders. I caught that. McDaniels did not respect anything the Raiders were bringing to the table. He knew his team was going to be able to beat them. It didn't matter. He knew that they were going to win. And he just pretty much put together a game plan that he felt was going to be simplified in a sense, but still execute a way to get 40 points. Well, they gained a lot of yards, but they didn't get a lot of points. And that was just because the Raiders were fortunate enough to get turnovers at the right time. It wasn't that the Raiders were absolutely killing them on defense. It's just that they were very good at getting turnovers when they needed to get those turnovers to make that game much closer than it should have been. So I truly do feel like this is going to be the game that really breaks the Jets back. And this is going to be the game that they say, okay, Salah, we're good off of you, bro. They're not going to fire him right there on the spot, but they're pretty much going to get prepared to find themselves a new head coach after Miami embarrasses them on Friday. So I'm going to take the 9.5 on Miami. There's not much more to say. They're down to Tim Boyle at quarterback right now. It's not going to happen. Let me go ahead and get the Dolphins minus 9.5. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. I just don't like this defense having to come back around and play a game 4 days later after they just gave up 32 points. So what are your thoughts on this one, Jeff?
I had a 42 with a 7.5. It's up to a 10 with a 41. Obviously, Tom Boyle, whatever his name is. Salah has seen enough. I think he might have finally got the memo. They've been chanting it in New York a long time that Zach wasn't the answer. And let's just get this straight to anyone watching and listening. Aaron Rodgers is not playing another snap this year, and he probably never should come back next year, but that's for a whole nother show. Listen, Miami, big game for them. The Jets are not going to be able to muster much offense unless they get some big plays from Breece Hall, maybe Garrett Wilson. Unfortunately, the Jets season, like the Patriots and a few others in the AFC, is over. Done. See, you wouldn't want to be you. I bought the hook, took it to 9.5. If I had to go out on a limb, I think this is your classic 27-13. I think Miami has its way with the Jets, and they move on, Pups.
Yep. Honestly, I'm going to keep it real with you. I don't even think the Jets score a point in this game. I think the Dolphins are going to play one of their better defensive games of the season, and they're going to really, really take it personal in this one because they know that they left a lot to be desired on Sunday. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. And when we get back, when we get back, we will jump into the early games in the NFL. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange, and I'm your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and our host with the most in the East Coast, the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson, and we'll be right back to you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
Here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We have ourselves some more games and great games as well too. It's a great week of games, Jeff. That's all I can say. I like it when we have these spreads that aren't too spread out. You know what I mean? Where we have some damn sense. You know, last week was just all right, man. We throwing Hail Marys up here, hoping everybody's going to take these 1-9 teams against these 9-1 teams or whatever. So, you know, let's go ahead and jump into this one right here. This is going to be the NFC South game. That's very important to the standings because let's keep it real. Saints 5-5, Falcons 4-6, +1, over under 42.5. When you look at the numbers, you can see that the Falcons actually are 2-0 in the division as well too. So that's something that works out very well for them. Bad part for the Saints is the Saints have played their 2 division games already as well too, and they're 1-1 with a loss to the Buccaneers, who at that point thought that they were going to be the guys in the clubhouse. So when you look at the numbers for this game right here and really break this game down, you have a Saints team that's really since week 3, they haven't really been that good to me, Jeff. This team is 3-5 since that point. And you don't know who's starting that quarterback either Sunday because Derek Carr is going to be a 50-50 situation. But I honestly feel like Derek Carr needs to just sit down and let them see if Jameis Winston can be the guy. You know what I mean? But I think that Dennis Allen is smarter than the rest of us, and he knows that Jameis is not the guy. And that's why Jameis isn't starting right now. That's why you're going in there and throwing in Taysom Hill a bit more. And you're hoping that eventually you can put Haener on the active roster because if they would have had Haener would already took Derek Carr's job. But the thing is, Jameis Winston's IQ isn't good enough to really be able to carry the Saints for more than 2 games. And the coach knows that already. So he doesn't want to make a controversy between him and Derek Carr. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer that question for a lot of people who are just very hell-bent on Jameis Winston starting. Jameis Winston had his chance, he blew it. It's that simple. All right. If NFL teams really wanted him to play quarterback for them, they would have traded for him. They would have gave up whatever the Saints wanted for him. But when I see a team that's just 3-5 since going 0-2, and I know that they're very in need of of a jump start, and they're coming fresh off of a bye as well too. So this should be very helpful for the Saints coming into this game. This Atlanta team is looking for answers right now. They don't know where to go. This team started off 2-0 as well too, and since that point they've been 2-6. So that just goes to show you this is a team that had some high hopes to start the season off. Bijan Robinson and Algieri looked like they were going to be the best running back duo in the NFL. And then Desmond Ridder started overthinking this thing a little bit and went away from being a great game manager to trying to be some type of gunslinger and lost his job for a few weeks. So, Atlanta really is looking for some answers right now, but Atlanta knows that they're still in the race. That's the whole thing. You're still in the race. That's what it's all about. And they're right there in the thick of things to actually win this division still. And this will be a huge game for them because they will go 3-0 and they will take over the lead in the NFC South. So this game is one of the biggest games of the week. Don't matter what the record is. And I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say this. I think the Saints are going to need some motivation as they go through their final games of the season, and Atlanta's going to give it to them and how any old rival does. And I'm going to take Atlanta with the -110 to go 5-6 and take over the lead in the South, at least for this week. So that's where I'm rocking at right there, Jeff. What are your thoughts, and who are you going to be picking for this game?
We started the show and I talked about the NFL. I talked about the 25% of the teams that are down to their second or even third string quarterback. Our next two games are perfect examples here. Taylor Heineke was the start of the last two games. And then the Atlanta goes to a bye. Now in comes Ridder again. Saints, Carr hurt. They still have Taysom Hill and, of course, Jameis Winston. A true coin flip. I, too, am following your lead on this. I had to pick them with a 41, still a pick them with a 42.5. Actually think some points are going to be scored. Michael Thomas doing what he does best, collecting checks. Knee's still hurting him again. Has no idea when he's going to come back. Just cut the guy. Guys, when are you guys going to learn these divas here? A good competitive game. Be interesting to see Bijan after the break if they get him more involved with Kyle Pitts. A fun game here. I think it'll be one of the funner games on Sunday at 1 o'clock. I, too, take the Falcons +1. I think they win the game outright, Pops. First 1-24 wins this game. A classic coup from 51, 24-23 Falcons.
All right, so we both are on the Falcons for this one. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I just think that them being at at Mercedes-Benz Dome, that's going to be the advantage for them in this one. And, this is the oldest rivalry in the South when it comes to the NFL. These games always are must-see TV. Let's keep it real. They're always good. Doesn't matter how bad the Saints or Falcons are. The game is always going to be good. But everybody's right in the thick of things except for the Panthers in the South. So, this is a very important divisional game. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into another very important divisional game. This week, we're going to go ahead and see exactly who the Steelers truly are, and we're going to see who the Bengals truly are. And you know what? The Steelers, let's keep it real. A lot of people were dogging the Steelers out. They just fired their offensive coordinator in Canada this morning, all that good stuff. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not saying Kenny Pickett's not a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's just a guy that you got to keep evaluating. You know what I mean? And I think that better play calling might be helpful for him. But I don't think firing the OC is really the answer for the Steelers. The Steelers need to find out who their playmakers are and who their playmakers aren't. They're having a real issue on who to get the ball to and who to start and all that good stuff. They finally kind of figured it out, though, Sunday. Jaylen Warren has to actually start over Najee Harris. Let's just keep it real. You have to give him a little bit more touches, and you have to make Najee more of a versatile slash back. where a guy is running out, catching passes, a guy is running for you, a guy is blocking a little bit more for you, and just being a little bit more useful than just running the ball. Also, they need to figure out their situation with their two very good receivers. Deontay Johnson is now frustrated with the situation, and Pickens has already shown his frustration as well too. So there's just a lot of things on the offensive end that the Steelers need to clean up, but their defense is absolutely carrying them at this point. So their offense really hasn't had to have a big spotlight on them, even though a lot of people still point out the offense day in and day out. And I think that Canada was a guy that was figuring out how to get it all together, and you fired him after playing the best defense in the NFL. That's a total disrespect to the Browns, who have literally the most points the Browns have given up at home this year was 28 to the Ravens and 10 to the Steelers. So you think that they're still the same old Browns, and that's where you messed up at in the first place, Jeff. You know what I mean? That's where you messed up in the first place, because you're not better than the Browns this year. And you got to get that ego. You got to get that ego shit out of here. You got to stop thinking about, when Big Ben was here and all that stuff. That's what the biggest problem is with the Steelers right now. They feel like Pickett can do the things that Ben did, and he can't. He just can't. Sorry, he just can't do it. But he can be a good game manager, and you have to give him a good offense to manage. That's what the issue is. I know why we have a spread being won here is because the Bengals quarterback's an enigma, and he did show some good signs in that game. He just got thrown into the fire and really was not. And once again, Baltimore lucks up with the first-time quarterback being thrown into the fire, so they were able to take advantage of that situation. Now you got this guy playing Sunday. They're going to have a game plan set up for him. Everything's going to look really good because he still has Chase, and he still has Boyd, and hopefully Higgins can be back. But honestly, the Bengals aren't going to do anything if Sam Herbert's not on that field. Sam Herbert is by far one of the most important players not named Joe Burrow on that team. And by him not being around the last few weeks, the Bengals defense has been really shaky. So I truly do think if it's really about him showing up, but the Steelers are in a must-win situation. The Bengals are just trying to survive. I'm going to take the Steelers with the minus 115 on the money line.
We talked in August, September, the most competitive, the best division in football is right here, the AFC North. And now as the dust is settling, the Ravens are standing up top, looking below, and no Deshaun Watson, no Joe Burrow, and they know deep down Kenny Pickett is not going to beat them. I think they'd have a better shot, believe it or not. I was the guy yelling and screaming at Big Ben's last 2 years where he couldn't throw it over 20 yards. Well, Kenny Pickett is 15 years younger than Big Ben, and he can't throw it over 20 yards. And I was 100% wrong. He had a great preseason. I loved what I saw. I thought he was going to take that next level and that jump, and he's been awful. And remember a couple of years ago when Steelers started 11-0 and lost like their last 6 games, and they just fizzled right out of the to end the season. I think this is what's going to happen right before our eyes. A team that was miraculously 6-3, outgained in every game, Pops, but they were 6-3. Why? The defense, TJ Watt, the emergence of Jalen Warren, Deontay Johnson finally came back, but it's starting to crumble. I don't have a lot of faith. I think you got your best shot in the first game. They don't have a lot of tape on Jake Browning. I think this is going to be a big Joe Mixon game. Maybe a lot of bubble screens with, Jamar Chase. I don't know if T. Higgins is playing. I wouldn't hold my breath. I look for a battle here. My true numbers are a pick'em and 34. It's now Pittsburgh -1 with a 34.5. That tells me first 1 to 17 wins. I like McPherson from 47, Pops. 17-14 Bengals.
All right. We move along. And here we are. Let's go ahead and talk about the Panthers 1-9, the Titans 3-7. Not much to talk about here. This is where we draft in that bowl. You know what I mean? This is jockeying for position bowl. Now the Panthers, I know that they swapped first round picks right with the Bears. So the Bears would be the number one team in the draft if they were drafting this year. If if that comes to fruition right now, and then I don't know where the Panthers will be, but they'll be somewhere in the top 10. But you know what? I was happy to see that they said no benching of Bryce because it's not Bryce's fault that this team is that bad. And good thing Jeff didn't give me the side eye and the face that he usually gives me when I put the pictures up. But Jeff, you know that Bryce Young, if you throw the kid on Seattle is probably the second best team in the NFC right now because he would have he would be able to put that offense right where they need to be. He can manage the game. He won't mess this thing up. If you had him in LA on the Rams would probably be a 5-5 team right now because you have enough veterans on that group that can help you guide you through. This guy really was very unfortunate for the Panthers to move up 8 spots to come get him. That was really the worst thing that could ever happen to Bryce Young because this was a team with no plan. They went after a coach that was seen as a malcontent and a guy that was fired mid-season the year before. You never go after you never hire a coach that got fired a mid-season before who doesn't have hardware. Ron Rivera was a special case because Ron Rivera went to a Super Bowl. Frank Reich did not. Okay, and so pretty much that wound up being a cheap move for a cheap franchise at this point. Jerry Richardson really did try to pay coaches. That's one thing I can give Jerry Richardson. He knew how to select coaches. And it seems like the last few coaching runs, the Panthers just have failed in that category. I feel like Matt Rule, if you probably would have kept him around just another year and you gave him somebody like Bryce, you would have had a better situation going on here in Carolina, but you didn't. So now you have to start over again. You got yourself a quarterback that's the perfect type of leader, the perfect face for your team, and you're messing and you're blowing it. And then now you have fans blaming him for the reason why this team is bad. No, this team is bad because they have the worst offensive line in football. They have no running game. They have one wide receiver in Adam Thielen, and Hayden Hurst shows up sometimes. And it's just a really, really bad situation going on in Carolina on both sides of the ball. So what can you do? This team didn't have expectations to be a playoff team this year anyway. This team knew that it was going to be a 3-year build, and they're going to do it with Bryce. And so pretty much I like the fact that they came out and said, Bryce is not getting benched. Sorry. Not going to happen. What's the point? We didn't have the expectations to be a great team like that this year anyway. We weren't thinking Super Bowl. We were thinking possibly 4 or 5 wins. That's it. And, the Titans have been an absolute disappointment to me. They were supposed to be my dark horse in the AFC, a team that you didn't see coming because I trusted Mike Vrabel. And I feel like a lot of people are trying to scapegoat Vrabel right now. But I feel like if the Titans move on from him at the end of the year, there wouldn't be anything wrong with that because I feel like they've ran their course together. This just doesn't work anymore. I would love to see Variable with a team that he can really build. So possibly he could be looking at his next team right now, Jeff, with the Panthers. That I think he fits better with that type of situation right now. But what I'm going to do here, because I've talked about this game far too long, I'm going to go ahead and take the Panthers one last time this season, Jeff. These guys have really put a dent in my pocket. This is why my ass is sitting here 12 games behind 500 because I keep trusting the Panthers every other week. And you know what? This week is the week to trust them because they're going to have everybody just dogging them, throwing doo-doo on them, saying that they're the worst thing ever. Bryce is a little midget. He shouldn't be on the field. Blah, 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 blah. And they wind up winning the game with the late field goal. I'm taking the Panthers plus 155. But if they lose this week, I'm not taking them for the rest of the year. They'll just have to beat me.
Well, I'm in the same boat as you in regards to the Panthers. It's just been a money pit for me. When you can find Adam Thielen open 6, 7, 8, 9 times a game, and you're considered, the little engine that could, a la Kyler Murray here. I keep comparing this, but I would love to see what Bryce Young could do with Nico Collins, with Tank Dell, with Noah Brown, with Robert Woods, with Dalton Schultz. On paper, Carolina thought they had some weapons with Jonathan Mingo, who's another stiff like Quentin Johnson, Terrence Marshall. And they brought over Adam Thielen, and they spent the money on Miles Sanders. And the fact of the matter is, no one's healthy, no one's open. It's just been a dumpster fire. And now the rumblings came out this week that Frank Reich, believe it or not, could be one and done. There's going to be a lot of coaches that are going to be unexpectedly fired late once the dominoes start to fall. I waved the white hands. The number smells. It really does. My true number here, Pops, was blah, 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 blah. Where are we here? 4 with a 37.5, down to 3.5 with 37. Money coming in on the Panthers side. I bought the hook. I took the Panthers down to 3, the Titans down to 3. We're seeing probably the last full year of O. Henry. Levis shown flashes again. He came in that one game from a hurt Tannehill through the 4 touchdowns, and then it's done nothing since. I just hope they find a way. I think the defense will put a lot of pressure on Bryce Young. I think they'll turn the ball over a couple times, maybe D-Hop a big game. Tajay Spears, 27-17 Titans. How's that, Pops?
Sounds good to me, sir. Sounds good. And you know what? The Titans should be right there in it. I know they're at home and all that good stuff, but you know what? Man, I'm just going to go ahead and do it this week because I feel like, okay, give them one last week. If they don't do anything this week, then we moving on. I'm not taking y'all at all for the rest of the season, okay? And then y'all can just whoop me for the rest of the year. It don't matter what. All right. But I don't think I took them last week, or did I take the Cowboys last week? I think I did. No, I did take them last week. That's why my ass is sitting over here with that bad record right now. So, Bucks and Colts. We have a really fun game here. Colts coming into this one 5-5. You got a Bucks team that's 4-6. The Colts just cut Shaq Leonard as well too, so he'll be available on waivers. But usually when you cut a linebacker mid-season like that, he doesn't have it anymore, especially with the team that's still chasing the playoff spot as well too. So I don't think anybody will be probably running to sign him unless they want to know what the Colts are coming with this week. So I look at this one, and this team has been bad. Okay, let's keep it real. They have not been good. And Rodney McLeod has just been put on the IR for the Browns as well too. So that's something to notate as well too if you're a Browns fan or if you're trying to follow that type of situation right now. But when I look at this game, I say to myself, the Bucks really have kind of failed us a little bit because we all got excited. We wanted to see the Baker Revenge Tour. Didn't you want to see the Baker Revenge Tour too, Jeff? Like, yeah, Baker, get him, bro. Let them know why they let you be in those progressive commercials. You know what I mean? Let them know why you somewhat of a celebrity. And you know what? Baker Mayfield is the greatest example of a guy who's a college legend and an NFL nobody. Straight up. You know what I mean? And we've seen it plenty of times. He's from the school of Rick Meyer. You know what I mean? The school of Marquise Tuiasosopo, where these guys were just excellent college quarterbacks. They were awesome. They could do no wrong. But when they got to the NFL, all their little weaknesses and everything got exposed. But really with Baker, it's just they've never gave Baker enough weapons, in my opinion. And this Bucks team is running with Mike Evans, and this is an old Mike Evans as well, too. This isn't, Mike Evans with Brady. This isn't Mike Evans with Jameis Winston. This isn't Mike Evans with Mike Glennon. You know what I mean? This is Mike Evans that I'm trying to get the hell out of town, Mike Evans. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at this game, and you say, the Buccaneers just, it's just sad that you got a team started off the year 3-1, went on a bye, and since that point, Jeff, they're 1-5. So this team is showing their true colors, but we know that they're going to step it up here because they have a bunch of division games coming up in the next few weeks. But this game right here needs to be the game that changes things around. Indianapolis just doesn't do much for me. They're kind of like a middling team that just doesn't know how to get out the way. You know what I mean? And you know what? I'm going to give their coach a lot of credit, with Stitching, because I get it confused. Is Stitching in Indianapolis or is it Gannon? Because they're kind of the same robot. You know what I mean? These Eagles coordinators that they hired. So, I feel like this team has played well because they got good chemistry. And if they would have had a better quarterback situation, they would be right there in the mix of things to try to win this division. But at this point in time right now, today, I really do feel that the Bucs are going to be in a bounce back situation. They played these games very well against the AFC South this year. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Bucs to win this game with the plus 115, Jeff. I truly do feel like they got all the storylines that say they win the game. So pretty much that's where I'm going with this one. What are your thoughts and where are you going with yours?
One of my million losses last week was the Bucs, and not once but twice in the fourth quarter, Baker drove them down into the red zone for a score to cover the game. They played well. They're playing hard, and Baker got his ass beat up, but got up, shook it off, and they played hard. I think there was a stat about mid-year that opponents after playing the 49ers were like 1-19 straight up in their last 20. My true number was 1 with a 42. Now it's circa 2.5 with a 44. Indy coming off the bye. Another week fresher for Jonathan Taylor. It's the Jekyll and Hyde Gardner Minshew here. I followed you. I bought the hook. I took the Bucs to 3. I think they can win this game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I think it could be one of the higher scoring games, Pops. I can see this like 27-24 Bucs. I like what you did here with the money line. I took the +3 for insurance, but if I had to pick a winner, I lean the Bucs here as well, Pops.
All right. I'm trying to look at mine as well too. Jeff, you're going to trip on me when I do this. The lines makers made it 2.5 to the Bucs, but I had it 2.5 to the Colts. So that's why I'm all in on the Bucs this week, because they're not supposed to be the damn underdog. Let's keep it real here. Just when you look at when you set up both teams, they're not supposed to be the underdog. Because when you look at who they beat, you look at who the Colts beat, it's pretty similar, but you see how the games were approached. It's a different animal. So that's why I feel like, we kind of sleeping a little bit on the Bucs here, and this should have been more of a pick 'em than anything. And that's what it will wind up being when we get to kickoff as well, too. I just know that's where it's going to go, because they're not going to let the Bucs walk into that game as plus money. They just not. You got to get your plus money today, because they're not going to let you get it on Sunday. I'm going to keep it real with you. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break. When we get back, it's time to talk our last few early games, and then we get into some fun afternoon games. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right. So, man, Jeff, I wish you was doing my show with me today. Because man, I don't even get off topic, but man, UCLA and Marquette was that was a game last night, sir. That was a game. I'm excited about UCLA moving forward. Mick Cronin's gonna love this team because they long, lengthy, defensive. Well, no, they're not defensive yet. They're going to learn how to play defense, but they're a much better offensive team than what he had last year. And Bona, that guy, tremendous. That guy is going to be All American this year, definitely.
I truthfully turned the game on. I finished up my work. I went into bed, had the game on. Listened to Mick at halftime, started to watch the second half. Now, listen, Marquette and Shaka is one of those teams that a lot of people got going to the Final Four and potentially cutting the nets down. They're just gritty. They just don't wear down. They attack. But UCLA opened up my eyes, especially in the first half. Relentless on defense. We know that's what Cronin's all about, is playing good, hard defense. It was a great game to watch, and I fell asleep, unfortunately, missed the end of the game, the second half for the most part. But I just eventually, if Marquette, I thought, started to maybe make a few shots. No one could make open Jays for a while there. And then I saw the final score. But what impressed me the most was the battle, the tenacity of UCLA, because I know this isn't one of his quote unquote Final Four teams that we expected those last couple of years when he had the great runs. But you opened my eyes, and I'm excited for the Bruins this year.
Well, honestly, the team that got in on the play-in, that team wasn't supposed to get past the first weekend, and they got all the way to the Final Four. But I know exactly what you mean. But let's jump into this Pats Giants situation. We'll get into our NCAA stuff when it's time to, man. This is all about the NFL, baby. This is NFL show. Which got a good thing that we don't have contract obligation to the NFL, because I'd have been also they'd have had the producer calling me in the back pocket. You can't do that. We're on a time schedule. So Pat, and I know why you're laughing, because it's Pat's Giants. This is C League stuff right now, man. And this is going to be the funniest Pats Giants matchup ever, because it's just going to be one of those ones where everybody's just wanting to lose the game. And this, I would say, they say tank for Caleb game. No, I don't think either of these teams are in the Caleb Williams business right now. It's tank for Drake May, and that's what it is. And it's been about Drake May for a while. I know Caleb is the USC quarterback, so he gets all the glitz and glamour. But I've heard from scouts the last 2 years, they're way more impressed with the way May goes about the game than Williams, because Williams is the type of guy that's going to be a turnover machine in the NFL. Everybody knows that. Drake May is the type of guy that's going to learn how to learn the game, be a game manager, and then get into being, a great gunslinger, things of that nature, really learn what he's doing out there. But I keep saying to everybody, I still think Josh Hartman's better than both of them, but I know he's not a first-round quarterback. But Giants, if you're listening, he should be a quarterback on your list, so you don't have to rush yourself into a situation with another quarterback that might not be the fix. I think that going after Hartman in the third or fourth round would be the right thing to do, and show Daniel Jones that you still have some faith in him, because you just can't move off of him that quickly. It's been an injury season for him. But I know one thing, though, Saquon Barkley, kiss them thighs goodbye, because he is gone. He is out of here. You know what I mean? Seriously, he's not coming back. You know what I mean? Let's keep it real. He won't be back next season. So they can go ahead, and Giants fans can go ahead and start being pissed off right now, because he's not coming back. But he's going to finish up having a great season, in my opinion. But all in all, I just had that long monologue about a game that's absolutely worthless at this point to the grand scheme of things in the NFL, Jeff. I don't know where the hell I'm going with this one. I know that the Patriots are literally right now like, you know what? We don't care. Bill been ripping us for the last 10 weeks. It don't matter no more. We know we ain't going nowhere. And I know Bill's probably stopped the ripping and the getting mad. They just show up for work now. You know what I mean? Come on, Bill's walking out in front of his house shirtless. Was that really Bill? Or was that just some guy who looked like Bill?
No, that was Bill.
Damn. Bill looked like, and Bill don't even look like he drink, but he looked like he came off of a nice bender coming out that house. So, you know, and I don't know. But Bill just don't care no more. And so if Bill don't care no more, I don't care no more. That's why I'm going to go ahead and take the Giants to win this game plus 140. Let's go. And, you know, they always play up to the patch. You know that, Jeff.
You know, the look-ahead line before the Giants won in Washington was Pats 5.5, which was comical. Now it's 3.5. Patriots being the Patriots, bye week. This used to be an autoplay. Pats after a bye. Bill's record off of a bye is off the charts. We don't even know who's starting at quarterback, Pops. My gut tells me that it could be Zappy. It could be Will Greer. I have no idea. I will tell you this, just knowing the shit luck that the Pats have, they'll probably end up with the third pick, and now they'll have 10,000 calls because someone wants to move up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. You talked about the quarterbacks. You talked about Caleb. You talked about Drake May. Jaden Daniels getting a ton of steam. Bo Nix getting a ton of steam. You still got Michael Penix Jr., who reminds me of Tua out in Washington. You talked about Hartman from Notre Dame. So it's, you know, for the Patriots, that if I woke up tomorrow and they traded 10 guys, it doesn't matter. How bad is their defense? Let me tell you something. Judon, who hasn't played in 6 weeks, has 4 sacks. He leads the team in sacks, and he hasn't played in 6 weeks. It's just a dysfunction junction. I bought the half comically. Give me the Giants plus 3.5. If it lands on 3, go be it. First one to 17 wins this game. Vegas is telling me 17-13 here. I like where your eyes are. But again, for the Patriots, just lose this game. You'll have the tiebreaker with the Giants. You can move up. Here's my insane thinking, Pops. Carolina gets the first pick. We know it's the Bears. Patriots got the second pick. And let's just say the Bears are sitting at around 6. And you know the Bears are chomping at the bit. I'll make a trade. I'll trade down, get the Bears pick. You can throw in Justin Fields. You can move up to 2, take Drake May. Or they can then move up to 2 and take Marvin Harrison and keep Fields. And then I'm just going to stockpile. And I'm going to wait for a Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix or something. But I think this week, let's go Giants.
All right. So, and real quick with Marvin Harrison, real quick. My quick thoughts about that situation is like this. Marvin Harrison holds the future of top-end wide receivers with his success when he gets to the league, because if they got to waste another top 3 pick on a receiver and he doesn't pan out, then we're going to have it start turning into the running back situation, because last year was a great example of that when they started drafting wide receivers at the 20 spot, and all those guys were promised top 10 spots. You know what I mean? They were all said that they were going to be in the top 15. JSN should have been in the, and they all didn't start getting drafted until the 20s. And we all said, and I sat up there and I said, they're going to all draft them all at once. You know what I mean? They're all going to draft them at once, just like they did with the running backs when they started not drafting them in the first round. We'll figure out what point in the first round we're going to draft all the ones we said were great. And so Marvin Harrison has a big responsibility. If he goes and has a great season, then they can continue and warrant the fact to pick a wide receiver in the top 10. If he doesn't, then that's where these guys are about to be from 15 to 32 damn near every year for the next I don't know how long. And I know it sounds crazy right now, but just look at how the draft has been working over the last few years. And Marvin Harrison is a very important player to the position. Just like Trent Richardson was a very important player to the running back position as well, too. Okay. Y'all can go do the research on your own time, but I'm just giving you little subtle hints. And the quarterback position, you may be next too. Seriously, think about it. Because right now, to me, offensive linemen and defensive linemen bring way more value than your playmakers, because they're guys that, if they hit, they're going to be here for a decade. It's not a flash in the pan situation. It's not, oh, he had one great year and it was over. No, your defensive linemen and your offensive linemen are going to be consistently good for the next decade if they don't get a major injury. You look at the dynamics of the game, man.
You're going to find out now. The Patriots' history and their GM and their drafting in the past decade has been absolutely pathetic. They need to just, from the top down, they just got to start over. And this is a type of draft where you're going to find a half dozen teams that are in desperate, dire need of a quarterback. And
Right.
the two that grade the best, obviously, the 1-2 punch of Caleb and Drake May. But as we know, the closer you get to draft day and then you get to combines and stuff, there's going to be a bunch of quarterbacks rising up the board. I mean, you could have literally by draft day, you could have 4 or 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 or 12 picks, where 2 or 3 of those are probably second round picks. So the fact it's going to be playing chess versus checkers, Russian roulette. Don't forget, go back to the Patrick Mahomes days where I think they were drafting mid-20s and they went all the way up to 12, I think, to get Patrick Mahomes, who no Texas Tech quarterback had done anything. It was all a system quarterback. Well, Andy saw something there, and there's a handful of these quarterbacks. I mean, to me, Penix Jr. looks spot image of Tua, but he's got 2 wide receivers on the outsides that are going to be playing on Sundays. So when the Patriots and Mac Jones slid to 16 and they fell in his lap, he had the same thing. If you think that's the quarterback and you don't have anyone to throw him the ball, it doesn't matter how good the quarterback is. If your wide receivers can't create space and can't get open, it doesn't matter if you have Dan Marino. So the fact of the matter is you got to do your due diligence. If you can keep sliding in the first round and just stockpile second, third, fourth round picks for a team that could end up 3-14 this year versus getting that high profile name that, what's it going to do? Get you a few more season tickets? So what? If you want to be in the top 5 and 10 every year in drafting, go ahead. But this draft is going to be a big, big draft for a lot of teams, Pops.
Right. And I think that this is a draft that determines how they're going to gauge playmakers for the next 5 years. Straight up. You know what I mean? Your quarterback, your receiver, your running back, and everybody that they're being so precious about. Because to me, when you're building a great team, you don't have to go and get these guys off the top. They're usually in the middling, just like how we do when we draft fantasy. You know what I mean? You want to get the guys that are going to be the guys that show up every week for your team. You don't want to just get guys that you're going to say, okay, like you just said, let's just hope that they can help us sell some tickets. They're going to sell some hope and wishes. And, and we're going to hope that we're going to win 5 games this year. You know what I mean? That's the Carolina idea right now. And that's about to get people fired. And, you just can't go in with that mentality already. You already knew that exactly what you were going to do. But I know we're up against time. Let's talk about the Jags and the Texans. I know that we can go about this all day. We literally went into a whole different think piece on this show, because now this is what happens when you have bad teams. Now you're talking about their futures. And really, we shouldn't even be worried about these guys because they're worthless at this point to the grand scheme of chasing a playoff. But they're worth because we're betting on them. You know what I mean? That's all that's about. But and it's funny because I really cut into too much time on this Jags game, so we got to be a little quicker with this one. But it's not hard to be quicker with this one, Jeff. Let's keep it real. The Jags are coming off of another good divisional win. They have one divisional loss this year, and that was to the Texans. They were absolutely embarrassed. And so pretty much what happens with that is this. You have a team that has it to where you have a lot of good things that are going on with them moving forward, and the Texans, because they figured out some great things, but they really did have a tough time with the Cardinals last week. And when a team has a tough time with a team like the Cardinals, they're not there yet, Jeff. I don't care what anybody says. I know everybody's excited about what the Texans are doing and everything right now, but I looked at their schedule on the way out, Jeff, and I honestly think that they'll possibly only win 2 more games, if that, because they've already went over their actual expectancy, in my opinion. And now this is when it gets hard because we know exactly who you are. And we know Arizona did game plan very well against CJ last week. Even though he had some good yardage, he didn't put the points on the board that you need to. So I truly do feel like the Jaguars are going to look at how he was defended last week, and they're going to take it up a notch, and they're going to probably make this the worst game CJ's ever had in the NFL after being eviscerated by him back in September. They got to get their get back here, Jeff. I feel like the Jaguars will have a nice, thorough game here because this is a big pressure game for the Texans, and I don't know if they can handle the pressure yet, Jeff, but they'll show us. They'll have to show and prove, but I'm going to go ahead and take them with the minus 125 on the Jags. What are your thoughts and where are you going with this one?
No, I love your thought process here. And again, on a team one week and lose, off of them the next week and lose. And that's the NFL Jekyll and Hyde. And unfortunately, I'm going to fall into the trap this week. I took the bait. I flip-flopped it on you. I grabbed the Texans money line plus 145. But if you go back, the Jags were winners of 5 in a row. Bye week, in come the 49ers. They got steamrolled. But what shows a good team is a bounce back, and they bounced back with a vengeance last week against the Titans. You saw the Lawrence to Ridley show come back. This is a perfect spot for them. I love where your eyes are here. Here's a coach of the year, hands down right now. It's not even up for debate. If it was voted today, should be the coach for the Texans. Obviously, C.J. Stroud, Rookie of the Year. What they've done is just off the charts. I'm going to get them to spring the upset, but my true number was Houston -1 with a 46. It's now Jacksonville -2 with a 48. High-scoring, fun game. This is probably your 27-24, 27-23. I'm hoping it's the Texans, but I'm probably most likely on the wrong side here, Pops.
All right. Now it's time for our late games. And in our late games, we have ourselves some pretty good games here. And up first, we have ourselves the Rams and the Cardinals. There's not much to talk about here. You got a Cardinals team that's 2-9. They can't wait to get a week off. You know what I mean? Well, Kyler's okay, but the rest of them want to get a week off. When I see all these teams that have played 11 games, and that means you haven't had any time off yet, and you are kind of on fumes. So them being somewhat of a favorite here, I think, is an absolute disrespect to the Rams, who just came off of probably one of their best wins of the season because they had to come back. They had to really finally got back into the game. They had some good comebacks this year, but they weren't able to finish those comebacks. And I know it was a missed field goal at the end that got them to win, but still, this is a confidence boost for a Rams team that still does have remnants of a team that won a Super Bowl a few years back. So, they still got pride, Jeff. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of people have to understand. And you know what? They know that they're still in this playoff race as well, too. This is a very important game moving forward. So I truly do feel like the Rams will go ahead and win this game. I like them with the plus 100 here. I feel really good about this game. But we will have to figure out, will Stafford actually be in the game this weekend? That's why they're sitting here as a slight dog instead of being the favorite, because we all know the Rams own the Cardinals. Come on. The Cardinals have beat them once in the last decade.
Yeah, my true number was 2.5 with a 45.5, down to a pick'em and 44.5. Two things there. Tells me Stafford probably not playing, number one. Number two, I don't know the health and the update on Cooper Kupp, who got hurt late in that game as well. Kyler Murray playing for a new team, probably next year. I don't know which way Arizona's going to go. That contract, there's not going to be a lot of teams lining up for that contract. But if he is released and Arizona takes the hit on the dead cap money, he'll able to go. Kyler could start for a dozen teams right now with all the injuries going on. Here, we took the Cards minus the 120 on the money line, playing on the fact we don't think it will be Stafford. I don't think we'll see Kupp either. This could be a lot of talks this week, too, about McVay. Maybe getting bored and moving on. Don't forget, 2 years ago, after the Super Bowl, was offered $18 million to broadcast the Amazon Thursday night games, $1 million a game. He wanted to come back and try to prove the world he could repeat. So the young guy might get bored, might go into the booth for a couple of years, then get itchy and come back. I don't know, but give me the Cards minus 120, Pops.
Well, you know what? You just talked about McVay, and the Rams could be a possible team that's in the mix. But I'm going to keep it real with you. If the Cardinals are moving off of Kyler Murray, there's no other team that I can think of that will be silly enough to go ahead and get on that contract. And you know where they're at too, Jeff. The team that plays in Las Vegas. Mommy boy himself would go out and go get Kyler Murray. Seriously, because why? He's a must-see TV quarterback. Think about that part.
He's
that's
good on the fantasy side too. He's good for your fantasy team too.
Right, but if you give him a Devontae Adams, that can be career changing for him. You know what I mean? If you give him a guy like that, he can make things better for Josh Jacobs as well too. So we'll see how it goes. But let's talk about one of the best games this week. And I know everybody's like, you always say that when it's the Browns, but the Browns just keep being in these games where it's playoff type situations. This week it's the Broncos, a team that's won 4 in a row. They're coming into this thing 7-3. They've won three in a row. The Browns, since going 2-2, they actually are 5-1 at this point. You know what I mean? And this team has really dashed all expectations this year simply because they have the best defense in football. And you know what? This team is really, really, really tough to beat when they got everything rolling on all cylinders on the defensive side. Myles Garrett is playing not just defensive player of the year well, he's playing MVP well because the guy is really he's really that good, Jeff. I watch him every single week. And every time the Browns need that big sack, not when, you just get an early sack in the game. No, when you need that big sack, that big moment to really get a stop at the right time to really seize momentum, here goes Myles Garrett doing the damn thing, brother. And I'm telling you right now, that's special. This guy right now, if you don't think he's a Hall of Famer, you don't know nothing about ball. This guy is absolutely probably going to go down as the best Cleveland Brown of all time, not named Jim Brown, in my opinion. And I thought nobody was ever going to replace Bernie from that side. But no, this guy right here is special. He's leading the Browns into a new type of era of Browns football as well, too. And the Browns don't need to worry about the quarterback. The Browns just need to keep playing this great defense, and the quarterback just needs to manage. You're in the same situation as the San Francisco 49ers. Just don't mess it up. That's all you got to do. Just don't mess it up. And I feel like this week, DTR actually has his best game compared to these first 2 games that he had because first, he's going to be on the road. Second, he's not going against the top 3 defense, which were both Baltimore and Pittsburgh teams. And also, it's not a division game. This is against a team that's still trying to figure themselves out as well, too. And and you know what? I had Buffalo, but I did not like the way Buffalo played that game on Sunday. That was a whole lot of luck right there, Jeff, and a whole lot of help from the refs as well, too, in that spot. I truly do feel like Minnesota did everything to win that game, but they just lost because of certain situations that occurred that didn't get called or got overlooked. And you know what? That was good for the Broncos, bad for the Vikings, but that didn't mean the Broncos played a great game, and that didn't mean that I need to put my money on them this week because they won 4 in a row. They're due for a loss, Jeff. Give me the Browns. Plus 130 money line. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And this is a danger game for Russell as well, too, because you know what? He has to watch out because the Browns are really, really adamant about sacking these quarterbacks, man. And hopefully nothing happens to them because the Broncos are playing good football right now, and they have themselves right back in the playoff race as well, too.
The last piece of our action parlay on Sunday, we had the Bills -8. We had them with the money line. We had the Montreal Alouettes plus 8.5, plus 330 on the money line in the CFL Grey Cup and came in. We had the Broncos money line. We didn't take the hook and -2, -1.5. something special is starting to happen with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson here. Settling for 4 and 5 field goals in the red zone. Might win this week, but most games it won't. The reemergence of Javonte Williams. Cortland Sutton, the number 1 wide receiver, not Jerry Jeudy over there. Russell not throwing the ball and turning it over. This is going to be a classic first 1 to 20 wins. I'm going to follow the lead that Vegas has given me on this game. I had the Broncos as a big favorite here. Now, obviously, it's 2.5 with a 35.5. I think the Broncos defense, who has been playing great of late, not to the level, obviously, of the old Denver Crush or obviously the Cleveland Browns, but I think they have enough to keep it competitive. I think they'll be able to neutralize DTR. They'll have to slow down Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, keep Amari Cooper in check. But I like the Broncos. Listen, this is going to be a hell of a game. Would I be shocked if the Browns won? Of course I wouldn't. But I think that Russ and Peyton win the turnover battle, and a hard-fought 2013 win here, Pops.
And that's what it comes down to, turnover battle and, time of possession and, where you set up at on the field as well, too, because this is going to be a game where you're not going to cross the 50 that much on either side. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. Chiefs, Raiders. And you know what? This game always brings out the kind of angry pop here. You know what I mean? Jeff been doing this show with me for 4 years already. And every time we got a Chiefs-Raiders matchup, it seems to always be in this category of the Chiefs being this heavy favorite and the Raiders, coming in here fresh off of probably having a brand new coach and having new motivation and all that good stuff. But you know what? This game right here is a game that I truly do feel that the Chiefs are going to really try to take their the Chiefs are really going to try to take they're really going to try to treat this game as if the Raiders are the team that's 7-3 and they're the team that's 5-6 coming into this thing, because they need some type of motivation this week. This team's offense has been absolutely dreadful the last 3 second halves. Okay. And I know you don't like me dogging out Patrick and things like that, but you know what? At the end of the day, what can he do if guys are dropping the ball? It's not even on Patrick how they're not scoring these points. I think that it goes back to Andy Reid's play calling when he's actually getting locked up. You know what I mean? Can he really go ahead and make the proper adjustments? And then when you get to see Philadelphia, Andy, then you get to understand why you don't put him up there with the Shulas. You don't put him up there with the Belichicks. Yeah, he's a good, fun guy, but at the end of the day, this guy has had his hangups and his moments. And you know what? It's starting to kind of show because they don't have the playmakers to really mask what this team truly is at this point. And, he was fortunate enough to have TO types in his offense the last decade here with Kansas City. And Travis Kelce is always a great security check. You know what I mean? A great safety valve for you. You know what I mean? But when you shut him down, things get very, very basic for this Chiefs team. I feel like the Raiders are going to be highly motivated coming into this one. If they play defense the same way that they did and can figure out how to force some turnovers here, they got to get turnovers, though, Jeff, to win the game. You know what I mean? They just can't sit up there and give up 400 yards and expect the Chiefs to score 20 points. It's not going to happen. But I truly do feel that the Raiders will probably go into this one and wind up being a team that catches everybody by surprise. I have them covering here, but when I put out my straight up list, I got the Raiders winning this game, brother. I think the Raiders go in here and they absolutely shock the system and give the Chiefs some more motivation so then they can finish the year strong, because I don't trust this Chiefs team right now to be a Super Bowl candidate. Honestly, I know you don't want to hear this, but I think they get put out divisional round or the wild card round. I think they're a one and done team this year, to be honest with you, because you can't get away with bad receivers for that much longer.
I understand everything that you're saying, and I think you're spot on. The difference, though, in the past years is the fact that their defense is playing so much stronger. We started the show and I sent out a tweet last night. Quentin Johnson, MVS equals Quentin Johnson. And again, MVS has got to catch that ball. He catches it, and maybe it's a different tone today
Right.
on the Chiefs. You got to catch that. But again, the fact that Justin Watson got 12 targets yesterday. By the way, we plus 2,500 on the first time TD score. It's been a long time since I got one of those, so I have to re-say that again. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to see a short week, short window, bounce back, blue collar type affair. I think the defense will put Aiden Connell in a lot of problems. I like what I'm seeing from the Raiders. They played a great game in South Beach last week. Now back home. My true number was 9. It's now 9.5 with a 44. I think this is early and often Patrick Mahomes. I think he dissects it. I think you'll see a lot of Pacheco. This might be one of those games that they're hoping they can get Travis Kelce on the sidelines by late third, fourth quarter. This has got 30-13 written all over it for me, Pops. Give me the Chiefs minus the 9.5.
All right. Well, you know what? And another thing is they're not going to say this. They're going to keep blaming the receivers and everything because they always protect them. But let's keep it real. If it's any other quarterback, they're going to get eviscerated for throwing that pick in the end zone as well, too. And that was a killer. You know what I mean? And, I know it's Patrick, so, he doesn't get blamed for this stuff. But, yeah, you threw the pick in the end zone. That was kind of key. You go ahead and score a touchdown there. You win the game 24-21, right?
Well, what about the Kelce fumble in the red zone, too?
Right. Well, Kelce fumbles in the red zone as well, too. So their two Mr. Perfects were reasons why they lost the game last night as well, too. But, we're not going to mention that. We're just going to all blame MVS for him dropping a pass that, is always a 50-50 catch. You know what I mean? I know it looks easy on TV. It looks easy at practice. But in the game, when you got contact on you, you're running, and you're trying to track the ball, and you just miss it because you blinked. It happens. Because that's
hey, Pops. Would Tyreek Hill caught that ball?
Would Tyreek caught it? Possibly. Because Tyreek would have been 10 yards ahead of him. That's the difference.
I was even going to
come on, Jeff.
I was even going to say Juju Smith-Schuster probably would have caught that ball too on his bicycle, but he would have caught the ball.
Right. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. All right. So Bills, Eagles. This one is actually a game that a lot of people probably are going to oversell the Eagles in. And that's really a recipe for disaster, in my opinion, to keep it real with you, Jeff, because this team is really, to me, I think after last night, they are just winning games on the fact that they're just really talented and they're really, really good at those situations right now. They've prepared themselves for those type of situations. But when you keep putting yourself in games like that, then you're going to wind up being the team that loses some of those games as well, too. And i.e. the Jets game. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of that Jets game. It's a late afternoon game as well. And the Bills are really in a position right now where they're in a must-win. And the Eagles aren't in a must-win situation. The Eagles are we're breathing easy. We really only need 3 more wins, and we're good for the season. Pretty much, we only need 3 or 4 more wins. We're at win number 9 at this point. If we're to drop this game, it wouldn't be the end of days for anybody in Philadelphia at this point. So that's why I feel like this game will be the big overlook for the Eagles in this spot, because the Eagles feel like they've made it. They nobody's going to be able to beat them, and I think that the Bills are going to really make them really sweat in the spot. So I'm going to keep it real with you, Jeff. They're going to walk into the city of brotherly love, and they're going to go ahead and give them a Buffalo shove. That's what they're going to do. And I'm taking the Bills with the plus 3.5. I'll take the insurance, but I'm going to take them on a straight-up list to win the game as well, too. Your thoughts, and who do you have winning?
Well, the Vegas gave you the carrot last night, 2.5. They didn't give you the 3.5. And Kansas City finds a way to lose, and the Eagles obviously find a win. About the Eagles and about Jalen Hurts, the rumors that he's been nicked up most of the season, just the facial expressions and the fact of the matter, he's been saying this. I've been saying this for weeks, Pops. They haven't even played their best football yet. If they
Right.
get the number one seed. I know everyone's going to say Sam Fran will come in with a different attitude. I get all that. The fact of the matter is that it's going to be a tough out. They got a chip on their shoulder. They're still the best team in the NFC till someone beats them. In come the Bills, Jekyll and Hyde. Another in the last 2 weeks. Stephon Diggs, 6 catches for like 60 or 70 yards. Something's going on there. Gabe Davis, no catches last week. It's Shakir. It's Dalton Kincaid. It's Latavius Murray. It's James Cook. It's not a team that we're accustomed to seeing. If they want to get into a shootout here, Philly's more than glad to oblige them. I think this will be the funnest game to watch. My true number was 3 with a 48.5. It's now 3.5 with a 48.5. I'll go on record here, Pops. First one to 27 wins. I took the insurance too, but the sense of urgency is definitely going to be on the Bills side. But again, if Josh Allen throws 2 or 3 picks, this game is over. So give me the Bills plus 3.5. They got to win the turnover battle.
What if Jalen throws 2 or 3 picks?
Well, then the Bills win for fun.
Well, the Eagles win a close one. Nah, but if he throws more than 2 picks, though, they're cooked. Yeah, it goes both ways. And I just feel like the Bills, if I was coaching the Bills this week, I would go to my defense. I'll kick the offense out of the locker room. I'm going to tell my defense, I need y'all to play big for me. Okay? I need y'all to be to the offense. I need you to be big brother this week. I need you to go ahead and hold their hand and walk them through this game because we are going to punish these boys this week. I need y'all fast and physical and aggressive. If we get penalties, so what? Just keep playing. You know what I mean? And make these boys really, really feel that you're here. You know what I mean? And don't come into this game trying to play patty cake with them because once you do that, that's when Philadelphia is really going to mess you up. All right, Sunday Night Football, real quick, Jeff. And, you know, we're running out of time, but this was supposed to be one of our kind of marquee games that we kind of get a little bit more heavier into, but we can be real quick about it. Ravens coming into this game 8-3. You have a Chargers team. The losers of 2 in a row. But we talked about this, Jeff. Did we not talk about this? We talk about this every week. The Chargers are a team that will win 2 in a row, then lose 2 in a row. They'll win 1, then lose 1. Win 3, then lose 3. This is how this team operates. And it seems like when you look at their schedule, you know when they're going to lose and you know when they're going to win. And I feel like looking at the last 7 games of their schedule this year, to be honest with you, Jeff, I honestly see it as possibly a 6-1 on the way out or a 5-2 on the way out. And this team winds up finishing 9-8, at worst 8-9 this year. But they're not going to win 10 games this year. I don't know why. I don't think that's going to happen. But the Chargers are the only team I can say right now who's 4-6 that could actually sheet their situation as well too, if they played up to it. But we know they're not. But one thing I'm going to say, though, is I know you're probably going to laugh at me when I say this, but you know what? Shout out to Brandon Staley. Thank you for standing up for yourself. These media folks, they think they know everything that there is to know because they played a game of Madden in their life. And you know what? Playing defense in the NFL nowadays is really hard compared to how it used to be back in the day. And I would say this, if I got a coach that has me in the game every single week, he's not getting beat by 30 like some of these other coaches that have comfort, you know what I mean? He's losing the game by a field goal or something of that nature, or just a boneheaded play from a player, not from him. But last week, you can't even put the loss on Staley. You had Keenan drop 2 end zone touchdowns. You had Eckler's fumbling the ball at the 5-yard line, 2-yard line, and you already said it, Jeff. QJ, what a waste right now. I know he'll get better, but that catch right there is supposed to be your defining catch that makes you, a part of the team, that makes you a star. That's what gets you these $1 million contracts right here, and not cut in your fourth year. And Sunday was just really sad to see him drop that ball after finally being able to be really put into the game plan. And it showed that he wasn't ready. And I was like, and that's kind of bad for Herbert at the end of the day. And you got this Ravens team. They're moving well. They're doing well. They're doing great. They're playing great football right now. They had a bit of a hiccup against the Browns, and then they bounced back 3 days later, kind of got themselves a bit of a charity situation with Herbert getting hurt. But you know what? They get 10 days off. That was absolutely needed, because if this team had to play on 7 days rest instead of 10 days rest, they wouldn't be a 4-point favorite. Let's keep it real. So them getting 3 extra days makes them the favorite here. I think that makes them vulnerable here, because pretty much what happens here is they're a little bit rested and they still haven't fixed their actual problems yet. They need to go ahead and go get themselves another tight end as well too. And I don't know if their offense is going to be as potent as it is when you got Mark Andrews in there, because he is, as Jeff always says, he's his Binky. You know what I mean? And so pretty much without his Binky, it's going to be pretty tough, because you know what? You can only do so many curls and stunts with our boy Flowers, and then you can only do so many goes with OBJ. So pretty much I think that, the Chargers, if they can shut down this run situation, which shouldn't be hard, I think they should be in this one. I'm going to take them with the +4. You can't trust them with a money line. We know that, Jeff, but I'm going to take them with the +4.
There's no bigger supporter than Justin Herbert in this land than myself. And what I witnessed on Sunday, Keenan Allen, who had 10 catches, drops one right at the goal line that hit him directly in the numbers, blames the sun. Austin Eckler fumbles on the 4-yard line, who is just a shell of himself. They don't even use him in the passing game, still hurt. Pizza pan hands, Quentin Johnson drops a potential 60-yard touchdown to end the game. It's just, what does it – pizza pan hands, yeah. And I feel for Herbert, but as we know, and Staley's heard and seen enough, and I was wrong thinking that Kellen Moore was going to turn this into something. Bosa now hurt. I have to get off the train. And the fact, though, big hole in Baltimore with no Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kohler are going to have to step up there. Look for a big Keaton Mitchell game. The Gus Bus just keeps scoring. Zay Flowers, OBJ, if healthy. Bateman scored last week. The Ravens got to be looking at the landscape of the AFC, and if they keep winning and the Kansas City gets one more hiccup, they could be having to go through Baltimore, which will not be easy. I bought the hook. The Ravens down to 3.5. My true number on this game was 4 with a 46.5, down to 3.5, 47. Money coming in on Herbert and the bounce back home game there. I like this game right around there, 27-21 pops.
All right. And you know what? Real quick, I'm going to keep it real with you, though, about the Chargers. One thing about the Chargers, they don't talk about it enough because the back end's so bad. This is why I keep saying the Chargers defense isn't bad. The back end of the Chargers defense is bad. They're second in sacks, and Joey Bosa is not the leader in sacks for this team either. Joey Bosa is been good, but Morgan Fox, Tupi, and Khalil Mack, these guys, they rush the passer as well too. And I don't think that it's going to be that much of a fall off for their pass rush. I think that what they need to do is they need to figure out who they can put into that secondary that's not going to be making bozo decisions. And you know what? Derwin James needs to be a better leader. You know what I mean? Derwin James makes way too many excuses as is. You know what I mean? And a lot of the mistakes on defense are on him. He gets burnt, then he has a bad penalty. Then he gets blown up on a block. It's just a lot of bad things. I think that the Chargers will probably need to move on from that contract because he's getting paid a lot of money, and it's just not worth it. They can go ahead and get somebody cheaper through the draft, in my opinion. But
I agree.
let's go ahead. I know you're being patient for me, Jeff, and we won't even do the highlight. But you know what? Let's keep it real. We got the Bears and the Vikings. We got the Bears 3-8, the Vikings 6-6, and pretty much what we got here is a situation where I feel like the Bears are going to be pissed off, Jeff, real pissed off coming up into this one. And I think that we can say what we want about Mr. Dobbs, Mr. Joshua Dobbs. They're 6-5 too. I'm messing up. They're 6-5, not 6-6. But Mr. Dobbs, man, he's doing good for a backup. It's a great story. But let's not sit up in here and act like the Vikings started their streak when he became the quarterback. Kirk Cousins had pretty much fixed the thing. They had won 3 in a row. They were 4-4. And then Josh Dobbs was able to take advantage of an Atlanta team that pretty much thought they had a win. And then he took advantage of a New Orleans team that thought they had a win as well, too. And then he almost tried to surprise the Broncos, and that didn't work. So pretty much I feel like he's about to go back to Arizona Dobbs now. And I think that they're going to oversell this thing a little bit too much for everybody's taste. And I feel like Justin Fields had a really complete game. All what happened was they just didn't finish in that game. Now, if they would have won going into this week, they would still be talking playoffs right now, Jeff, because you know what? Justin Fields isn't a loser, okay? He doesn't want to be a loser, all right? And that's what I think we're having a big problem at in Chicago is because they want to be losers and he wants to be a winner. It's a big difference in that. And then the guys that do want to be winners, they're all the same people. DJ Moore, Deontay Foreman, and the cornerback that's on the defensive side as well, too. They want to win football games. And I truly do think that, you know what, the Bears have a good situation going here with a better coach. The coach is the problem. This coach should have been fired 3 weeks ago. I don't know why he still has a job. The Bears could have probably saved the playoff situation if they would have fired this coach earlier. But you know what? They're going to fire him in December, so it doesn't really matter, right, Jeff? The moment they get to 10 losses, he's fired. I'm guaranteeing that, okay? So pretty much where I'm going with this one is I'm going to go ahead and say Justin Fields and crew, they try to win again this week without the help of their coach, without the help of their coordinators and all these people, but they're going to try to win this game again. They played probably their best game of the season other than the Washington game, and they still lost. You look at that stat line, you see the Bears dominating every single stat but the scoreboard. And literally we're up 14, we're up, 15 points there at the end? Before chaos, they're up 12 points. And chaos ensues, and then you give them 17 unanswered. The Bears are better than that, man. They're a much better team than everybody wants them to be. And I'm going to take the Bears this week as my dog bet of the week with the plus 150. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Where are you going with yours, Jeff?
Well, I can be honest with you. It's a Bears number for sure. A game Minnesota on Sunday night. Played a great game in Denver. Had that game won. Denver wins late. I love the Dobbs story. Cleveland, Arizona, now Minnesota. To all the fantasy people out there, I've been saying this for weeks. I'll just pile on right now. Justin Jefferson doesn't give a rat's ass about you, me, Pops, and your fantasy teams. I knew once he got injured, his bye week's at week 13. Kirk Cousins gets injured. They bring in Dobbs. He's just going to sit. He's going to wait. He's going to see where they are at the bye. Even with this team winning and playing hard, he's playing for a contract, guys. You saw Diggs get pushed out to Buffalo. I don't expect them to pay for Justin Jefferson. I expect him to be somewhere else. Wouldn't there be something if he was in Kansas City, Pops, with Mr. Patrick Mahomes? You'd love that next year for the NFL Bet Exchange.
Man, that would be absolutely cheat code, but we'll see.
I bought the hook. I got the Vikings minus the 3, minus the 120. Do I like it? No. My true number was 3.5 for the 43. This is going to be a fun game to watch. For fantasy purposes, there's Jordan Jefferson. There's Hawkinson. There's Justin Fields, there's DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. It's going to be a fun one. I think 23-20 is pretty well spot on, but I got to cover the 3 and cash the ticket. 24-20 Vikings.
All right, we'll see. I just think that, the way that the Bears approach the Vikings, it's always an issue for the Vikings when they deal with the Bears, especially when the Bears come to Minnesota and always figure out ways to surprise them as well, too. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on today's show. We went a lot more longer than I expected us to go. But you know what? Thank you, Jeff. I know every week I say we're not going to go that long, but then we talk for 20 minutes before the show, and then, we're now behind. So it is what it is, but we'll be all right. Riley, I'm sorry. I know you guys we needed to get on a little bit earlier than this, but it's all good. But with that, you guys know where to follow Jeff at. You know where to follow me at. We've taken up enough of your time, so I don't need to do too much more talking, but this is the NFL Bet Exchange. And I'm your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. And we are signing out. And as I always say, bid adieu, toodles, and we are out of here. See you later. Have a great day, and go ahead and win the day. That's what we do. All right, NFL Bet Exchange. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by the Prime Wave Media Group.